A dynamite interview to give you some encouragement today from an Amazon hustler, seven-figure seller in the supplement space. Today I will talk with Mina Elias, who has got a lot of things going on, serial entrepreneur, and he owns the PPC University. I am so excited to do this interview today. Just nonstop journey, Amazon journey, and value add today. You don't want to miss this episode. Selling on Amazon is difficult. It's everything but passive income. I share videos like this one to help Amazon sellers on their journey. My name is Stephen Pope, and I'm the founder of My Amazon Guy. When Amazon turns your world upside down, tune into My Amazon Guy to land safely and grow your Amazon business. I'm now joined by Mina. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me.
So this is one of my favorite episodes to shoot, the type of episode where we do a journey. We talk about, where you've been as an Amazon seller. And so let's start from the beginning. Why did you become an Amazon seller? How did you get started?
So I never really intended on becoming an Amazon seller. So I'll start there. I was on vacation in 2018 with my dad. My mom and my dad were sitting at a cafe. I was looking up some supplements online, and pretty much my dad said, "Hey, why don't you start your own blend?" First he said why don't you start an app for supplements? And I said, "Man, I don't know anything about apps." And then he's like, "Why don't you make your own supplements?" I said, "I probably could. I already blend everything." So a little bit of background about me. I'm addicted to supplements. Number one, if you look at my supplement cabinet, it's insane. But I've been an athlete my entire life. Played all sports in college. In high school, I played soccer. All throughout, when I was a kid to middle school, all the different sports. I started lifting when I was 12 years old. I fell in love with that.
Which sport's your favorite?
Well, I'm an MMA fighter. I would say MMA is my favorite, but which non that kind of sport, I would say soccer.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. So anyways, I was always into it to the extent that whenever my mom would go to the mall to shop, I would always go with her just so I can chill at GNC for a couple hours, because I know she would take a long time shopping, and I was just I wanted to see all of the supplements. Just always loved them. And so I was ordering and I have my bachelor's in chemical engineering and chemistry. So I kind of have a lot of background on different chemical literature and how to interpret literature and studies and P tests and all that kind of stuff.
So I'm gonna say something that's a little unusual. I'm gonna say that most people selling on Amazon in the supplement space probably don't belong there. Yeah. Because they don't have the background like you do. You belong in the supplement space. You truly do.
I think I'm the perfect supplement seller because I am my own target audience. So every single time I come out with a new supplement, it's so easy for me to sell it because I'm I made it for myself. So it's trying to convince someone why your food is the best because it's you just made it for yourself. So yeah, go ahead.
So I think selling in supplements is literally the hardest category to sell in on Amazon. Cutthroat, high PPC costs. And I know we got to go through your journey here more. So I'm going to take a backstop here. So you had all this momentum going in, your understanding of supplements. And when you started talking with your father about the app, how did it go from app to let me sell a product on Amazon?
So it went like this. He said, "Why don't you make an app?" And I said, "Man, you don't even know, there's bodybuilding.com. There's a billion apps out there. It's stupid to make an app." He's like, "Why don't you make your own supplements?" And then I said, I actually never think about the stuff that he says because he's always coming out with crazy ideas nonstop.
He's the visionary in the family, huh?
He's the visionary in the family. I'm the systems integrator realist.
You're the integrator. All right.
Yeah.
So, you've read the book.
Huh?
You've read the book.
Exactly. So pretty much I said, well, let me look into it. Did a quick feasibility study. Basically, I went on Amazon. I said, okay, let's assume that I was going to make a supplement. What are a few ingredients that are in? So, okay, this, and this. I looked at the raw ingredients, looked at the, cost per gram, said, okay, I'm going to have this many grams based on clinical studies. I already knew off the top of my head clinical dosages. So I said, okay, it's 3.2 grams, per serving times 30 servings. That's, 90 point whatever, 6 grams. And so I said, okay, perfect. So I already know, exactly how much is going to go into the supplement. And I did a quick study, and They say, oh, this is going to be $5 and it's selling like for 25 or 30 on Amazon. This is kind of like a
Which
no-brainer.
is what attracts people to the supplements category, because there is a high margin in the business, right?
Yeah.
Cheap,
But then that high
cost of
margin
goods.
just gets all eaten up by the things that you didn't know you would have to do, which is
Yes, which
advertising.
is the problem, right? Like people get sucked into the high margin, cost of goods low, high sell rate, but what happens in between is the surprising part of the journey.
And I was surprised too. So I went, so that was September 14th, went home, made a list of every single possible supplement that I would make. And then I did like research on every single ingredient that would go into every single supplement. And then I did research on the dosage, and pretty much I came up with all the formulations like in 3 days. I was like, when I get obsessed, I become
you were like mentally there already though.
Yeah. Because I'm telling you, like, this is my passion. Like when you find something you love, and then you kind of like give it a direction, it's like it just clicks. And so then I'm like, okay, which one should I start with? I was on keto, and as a fighter on keto, I'm losing an insane amount of like electrolytes. Number one, when you're on keto, you're losing electrolytes because your blood sugar is kind of like flat. It doesn't spike. And so your insulin doesn't spike. And when your insulin doesn't spike, you're losing a lot more electrolytes because it's not pulling it into the body as much as it would if you're like on a high carb or a regular carb diet.
And how does that impact fighters?
How does it impact what?
Yeah. So what's the impact of what you gave a very scientific explanation. So I want to dumb it down. What's the impact of that? What does that translate to?
Translates into, if you're on the keto diet, you will lose a lot of electrolytes from your body, which will make you perform worse.
That's it. Okay.
Okay. So as a fighter, obviously I'm worried about my performance, not just like in the cage or anything, in the gym, because you're getting beaten up by all of your friends every single day. And so I want to be in my best, because if I'm tired or I have an off day, you can feel it. And so
can we see your guns? Can you show me your muscles here? All right.
they're not. I mean, I'm wearing like a long sleeve shirt. Yeah. You can't really see anything.
I understand. You didn't put the spray on. It's not an Arnold Schwarzenegger, lookalike contest. I get it.
But so pretty much I said, okay, electrolytes is a no-brainer. I was actually like scooping like chicken broth, like the powder chicken broth out the container just to get enough sodium, because I just couldn't get enough sodium in my diet. I was using salt and everything, but I'm trying to get to like 3,000, 4,000 milligrams a day, which is not easy. And so because like none of my food is like canned or anything. Canned food, you have a lot of sodium.
Sure.
All of my stuff is like natural, so there's 0 sodium in it. So everything is added. But anyways,
that's an interesting problem to have. I don't think people, like the non-nutritionists of the world would have understood that. That's a really interesting, but it makes sense when you say it.
Yeah. And if you think about it, like the reason we need electrolytes so much in our body is because if you don't have, there's an electrolyte water balance in the body. If you have a lot of water and not enough electrolytes, your body just flushes the water to keep that balance. But if you have, and I'm drinking a gallon of water a day. So when I raised my electrolytes and raised my water at the same time, my body was able to suck all of that water into my muscles, into the cells in my muscles, which makes my muscles perform better, because our bodies like mainly consists of water. So that's kind of like a quick dumbed down version of the science behind it. So I said, okay, let's like actually make it. So I ordered everything off Amazon before I even came back into the country. September 21st, I was back into the country. 22nd, 23rd, I mixed a bunch. I mixed like a 5. I used it for a few days, and then I gave it to my friends, and I said, hey, like this company trusted me with these demo samples. Like if you guys want to try them, they're like performance, they're electrolyte supplements. They help performance, but I explain the science. And everyone, whenever they hear me speak science, is like normal to them because they know I'm a chemical engineer or whatever. So anyways, went to the gym. A few days later, they said, yo, this stuff like works. Like I'm feeling my cardio days. Yeah, you can feel it. Like it's very like it's a simple science. Like if you add more, everyone in the gym walks in with a gallon jug. You add more sodium, more potassium, more magnesium, your body absorbs more water, your muscles function better. It's that simple. So I was like, okay, like I'm actually like not biased and onto something. So there's
a point of clarity here. You tested your products before you went to market. And if we quiz 100 Amazon sellers right now, maybe 1 or 2 of them are doing that. So yeah, that's a huge edge. All right, keep going. This is really
And
interesting, by the way.
so I said, okay, very cool. That was around September 28th or whatever. So I hit up a friend. I said, like, tell me about like registering a business, all this stuff. He said, just go to LegalZoom, do it. It's $400. So on October 10th, I registered my business, and then I posted on Facebook. I said, hey, officially the owner of MMA Nutrition supplement company. These
Feeling.
posts.
That's a good feeling, man.
Like a long time, like you probably don't see that anymore because now you're like all entrepreneurs on your Facebook. But like if you go back to the days where like you had just normal friends, 9-to-5ers, they would like
normal friends on Facebook. I actually deleted my Facebook a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. So you know how it is. And basically, a guy hit me up. He was like the marketing manager for an MMA event, and he said, "Hey, we have an event coming up, November 2nd, which is 3 weeks later. I'll give you a booth for free. Just bring what is it called? Like a banner and some supplements, like for people to try out." I said, "Okay, done deal." So I had 3 weeks. In those 3 weeks, I had to design my website so people can even like look me up and do everything.
What platform did you use?
So I didn't know anything at all about e-commerce, nothing.
Right.
So I hit up a friend who apparently like her job was selling shoes online for like a big company. And she said, listen, do a Squarespace website. I said, okay, cool.
I don't think that's been on my radar in years. All right.
I know, right?
How'd that turn out?
That's what happens when all your friends are normal people. They're not, I didn't know anything about business, had no one in business, just didn't know anything. And the only person
the one thing that you had those like, you're a hustler, man. You like figured out your product in 3 days. I'm going to build a website in like 24 hours. Like you were on it. So
yeah, I'll do that.
It wouldn't have mattered if you had used, mud and sand to make that website. It was going live. All right. So how'd that go?
It had to go live like November 2nd. So I go online, Fiverr guys, blah, 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 get the logo, get everything done. Put the logo on a banner, Vistaprint, get a banner from Vistaprint. And then I ordered enough material to make 40 units of the product, mixed them up at home, weighed them, went to a print shop, got stickers. I got gold bags, put the sticker on the
Can I make
bag.
a prediction? You sold all 40 of those in the first 15 minutes.
No. I sold 25. I sold 25. Okay. Which is it. But I mean, at 25 units in one day, I was like, dude, I was taken back.
You were happy though.
And honestly, just to let everyone know, at the events, MMA fights, everyone there is not an athlete. Everyone there is someone's drunk cousin or uncle. It's like people.
Okay, you have to explain that. You have to explain that one. Okay, someone's drunk uncle. Okay.
So it's literally like the people who are there. It's like there's MMA fighters fighting, and then there's all of their cousins and uncles and friends who are just like, punch him in the face, like that's the kind of people. Yeah. So pretty much, I was very surprised that I sold the 25, and I went home with like a stack of cash because it was all cash, no card. I didn't.
Right.
I mean, I could accept Square and stuff, but I didn't have like the plugin, so they'd had to like input their credit card number. People weren't like excited about that. So
no, I bet they weren't. That's called friction. Anything you can do to remove friction and conversion, it's a good idea.
Yeah. I learned that on the go. So
real world experience right there.
Yeah. I sold that, and I was like, people kept asking me, where can I buy your stuff? I had a website that had no buttons on it.
Pigeon carrier, huh? Pigeon carrier.
I literally wanted to tell them one of two things: either go to the gym, which means they had to drive an hour, or send me an email. And then I was like, how am I even going to accept their payments? What are you saying? So the first thing that came to my mind was a lie. And it's going to be on Amazon soon. Look out for it. That's it.
You didn't even know anything about selling on Amazon when you were saying this?
Nothing.
That's awesome.
This is how much I knew about selling on Amazon.
And
so I didn't know anything about selling on Amazon. Didn't know anything about anything to do with business, period. So went home and I went down the rabbit hole, YouTube videos, articles, Google, how do I sell on Amazon? Can I sell supplements on Amazon? Who's allowed to sell on Amazon? Everything. And eventually I realized one thing, that there's no good answers when you're searching and you don't know anything about that topic.
Massive amount of information, but what do you do with it?
No good answers. And what I realized was there is people out there doing it, and they look really stupid. So there must be a way for me to get in. If these people are doing it, I can 100% do it. And you know what I'm talking about? I'm talking about like the people who are like, on YouTube, like, saying like dumb stuff. But anyways, so I said, okay, this is definitely possible.
You mean selling on Amazon's easy? You just hire a ninja. Is that?
Yeah, well, yeah, Amazon Ninja, whatever. I don't know. There's so much crazy stuff on there. So pretty much what I did was I said, you know what? I'm going to call Amazon Seller Central. So I called Amazon Seller Central, and they said, oh, we would love to have you on our platform. We're going to send you a partner package. And I'm like, oh, wow. Like
by the way, that's very unusual.
Yeah, I know. But anyways, so they sent me like an instructions on how to create an Amazon Seller Central account, and they sent me instructions on how to get ungated. And I was actually like calling and dealing with humans, which is crazy because now I'm like,
nobody can get that now.
Yeah, you can't even if you're an existing seller. So
and by the way, we do have direct contacts for those that are listening, and you want an introduction to somebody at the sales team at Amazon to get a seller invite. We can make that happen. Just reach out to podcast@myamazonguy.com. All right, so Mina, you really beat down the doors at Amazon to make this happen. Keep going. What happened next?
I mean, like it's just a guy who doesn't know anything about Amazon trying to figure it out. So eventually I got in, and they said, okay, for you to get ungated, we need an invoice, a certificate of analysis. So you're
like, what's a COA?
No clue.
Yeah, no clue. So you're so knowledgeable in chemistry, though. You probably could have written the COA.
That's actually when that happened. I had in my job in 2014 to 2016, I was doing certificate of analysis, and I was doing material safety data sheets and stuff like that. So I was already like,
so you were well knowledgeable.
Yeah. So I was
by the way, I know a guy who has a similar background to you. I'm going to send you an email introduction. His name's Joe Shaw. We had him on our podcast in November. He owns Flying Swine Seasonings. And while he has done more of the barbecue side of things, you guys would just, he's your people. I'll send an introduction.
I would love that. So yeah, pretty much, hit up a couple of manufacturers, said, can you send me an invoice, and can you send me a certificate of analysis for this? And someone did, and I passed it on to Amazon, and it got rejected for like a certain thing, and I changed that thing, and then it got rejected, and I changed it, and until finally the 5th time it got approved, and they were like, okay, congratulations, you're officially allowed like to sell into the supplement space, like good luck, list your product and good luck. So I'm like, okay, wow, now I got to actually figure this out, because I have no idea what to do. I hit up a manufacturer. Not a manufacturer, sorry. A raw material supplier who I was planning on buying the ingredients from, mixing it at home, packaging it at home, and sending it. But I was like, man, you know what? This is probably not safe. And I'm not the guy who is worried about like the law that much, like sure. I of course,
your risk tolerance was very high when you first started.
Generally, my risk tolerance is incredibly high. Officially on the record, I'm a law-abiding citizen. So.
Sure. I mean, I guess you're an MMA fighter. You better have a high risk tolerance if you're getting in the cage with somebody to knock them out.
Like, and if when you're from the Middle East, like that everything is negotiable. So, that's kind of like how I always was, very low, like a very like high risk tolerance. So pretty much I said, okay, like this might not be okay because people are going to ingest it. We're in America. Like this stuff might not fly. I hit up that guy. He said, yeah, we could do a blend for you. And the pricing was pretty good. So I was like, okay, can I do 100 units? He said, sure. 100 units. Got it. Then like, I was like, okay, now I got to figure out how to make this stuff move. Started putting up PPC campaigns, auto, manual, whatever, trying to figure this stuff out. Fast forward, like, a couple months later, I had already now gone into the whole Facebook groups, all like Brax FBA group, Unstoppable FBA group, like 1,000 of different Amazon groups. I'm watching YouTube videos like it's my job, and on the way to work, podcasts, on the way back from work, podcasts, like just, I was fully immersed in anything that had the word Amazon FBA or selling on Amazon, You
had those hashtags on lock, my friend. All right. So you were consuming just massive amounts of content, and that's what I like to call paying your tax, right? So those that are entering the Amazon space either have to do what you did, which was eat, sleep, and drink Amazon for a lengthy period of time and still make mistakes,
Oh, so
or
many, so many.
leverage an expert and go that route, which is why my Amazon guy exists. All right.
Exactly.
So tell me, you haven't told me any mistakes yet. I'm kind of surprised. I'm like
Oh,
waiting for like when the
I
first
love it.
mistake
All
happens.
right,
So what happened?
let's go. Let's go. First mistake. I hired a friend from college who was a graphic design major to design my first bag. And she designed my first bag. And after a couple of like asking her, hey, can you change this? Can you change that? She ghosted me. And
Nice.
I was left with like a crappy design, and that's it. And you're on your own.
How did that make you feel?
Man, you know, it just it's a so when it's a friend, right? And you paid money and everything, it was the first kind of like pinch, like, hey, it's not because just because they're your friends does not mean it's the best thing for your business. But it took me, unfortunately, many times of getting burned by referrals and friends to finally get the hint, hey, from now on, anything that you need to do, you need to have a very specific scope, deliverables, timeline, expectations, how to measure performance and success, exactly what it's going to cost, everything laid out. You have to vet everyone. You have to get quotes from everyone and then pick the best option, not the one that like your friend Joe's brother does, you know, this thing. So you should use it.
So that's really interesting for you to mention that, because when you first started your journey, you tried to use your network, right? And then as things went on, you're using key buzzwords like scope, timeline, measurables, right? That's a very different conversation. That's really interesting. All right, so your first packaging design was a flop. How did you go from there? How did you get off the
So
ground?
obviously this was like right before the launch. I launched on, by the way, I launched on November 22nd, 2018. So remember, conversation with my dad was September 14th, 2018. October 10th, I registered the company. November 2nd was the MMA event. November 22nd, I was live on Amazon. So I didn't really have enough time to like figure out this whole graphic design thing. And so what I did was I said, okay, whatever, I'm just going to fly with it. Let's just do that. And let's start selling. So sent my manufacturer all the raw materials. Now here's mistake number 2. Guess what happened after my manufacturer produced the stuff? I created a shipping plan and I gave it to him and he sent it to Amazon and I did not inspect anything. And
Oh no.
60 out of the 100 first units broke. The packaging, the bag broke 60 out of the 100. And
I keep one of my mistakes on my desk. I got a sweet heat hot sauce that I made, and it's a 4.5 pound glass bottle. I did the exact same thing you did, and then I ship it all into Amazon. All of it arrives to Amazon perfectly fine, and then it ships to the consumer. And what does Amazon's logistics team do?
they put it in the bubbler.
They put it in a freaking bubble envelope. Thank you, Amazon.
Yeah. So after that happened, I was like, oh man, like I'm glad that Amazon didn't see that I had like that, you know, the NX, very high NX rating or whatever.
Yeah, the NCX rating where the problems.
NCX, yeah.
Yeah, it's actually kind of nice that Amazon gives those insights these days.
Yeah. So I'm glad they didn't shut me down. So hit up the guy. I was like, okay, man, like, yo, we messed up big time. Like, please, anything from now on, you need to take one from each box, drop test it, show me the seal, make sure everything is good. So that's mistake, you know, number 2.
That's a key phrase for me, by the way, the drop test method. So anybody manufacturing in China or whatever, ask your manufacturers to do a drop test, because if you don't, the drop test will happen in the real world when UPS drop kicks that thing onto the porch of your consumer. So
yeah,
that's really smart tip.
We've seen the videos online on TikTok where like it's how like an Amazon guy leaves the package, how USPS leaves the package, how UPS, FedEx, yeah. So you know how it is. They literally throw that stuff and leave.
Yeah, let alone the porch pirates taking it when they leave it. But all right, so I digress. Okay, so you made the mistake of hiring local, then you made the mistake of hiring or
not doing an inspection.
All right. Okay. So that those are things that are really troublesome to get off the ground, but you eventually did get off the ground, I suspect, because we're here.
Yeah, eventually. So now we're moving into January, February. Okay, I've got some traction. Not incredibly profitable. Maybe doing $1,000 a month or so, $2,000 a month in profit. So I'm at least, doing something. I'm selling, and I realized that the direct correlation is the more money I'm spending on PPC, the more my reviews are getting, the more reviews I'm getting, the higher my sales are going. So I'm like, okay, this is pretty straightforward. So then a friend hits me up. She says, my sister manages a big Amazon account. You guys should like get in touch. So I hit her up. Anyways, I knew her sister. She came to homecoming and we drank together and stuff. So I was like, let me hit her up. I hit her up and I'm like, hey, like, please let me take you to dinner. I have like a bunch of Amazon questions. She says, okay, sure. I ask her 1,000,001 questions and she looks at me like this. And I'm like, can I see, first of all, I'm like, can I see like your Amazon account? She pulls it up and it's $12 million in the last 365 days. I look at the PPC, it's like 6.2% ACOS, 1 million in the last 30 days. And I'm like, I'm just like mind blown, like, wow. And then I start
how is this all possible? Can I do it too?
Yeah, but so it turns out that she manages the account of one of the sharks on Shark Tank for all of the products she invests in.
Well, it helps if the sharks are pushing the product off of Amazon to bring that traffic in.
Branded, it's in stores. So it's all CPG stuff. So that's why it's. But anyways, I mean, it's still very impressive. But I ask her all these questions. I don't get any good answers because it turns out that she, as an employee, you're not as invested in the success as someone who's literally like his livelihood depends on it.
Yeah, it's like the difference between you hustling for yourself versus trying to poke an employee to get the same amount of stuff done. It just doesn't happen.
It never. And so she's like, but who's experts? There was this company. They're now called Tenuity. It used to be called CPC Strategy.
Sure.
And she's like, they have this conference. I heard it's really, really good. They're so smart. They help us so much. Here's the tickets. It was $300 for early bird. And I'm like, oh, $300, man, that's a lot of money. Like I'm investing so much money.
Especially with you first starting out, right? Your expenses are super high when you're like trying to invest.
Exactly. And so I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll do it. So I'm like, I'm going to bet on myself. I paid that money, went to that conference. It was a game changer. So first of all, I did the networking night.
I was wondering if it was going to be the networking that led to the game changer. Was it?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I went to the networking night and I talked to all these people. And every single time I talked to someone, we went around the table, they were either an employee of a massive company or an owner of like an 8-figure brand. And just talking to them, I was like, wow, man, like it was so high energy, like I've never tasted before. Cause I'm all surrounded by 9-to-5ers, hate their job, man, the weather, man, the game, this. And now I'm here like with these like very high energy people.
Real shop top.
Yes.
Yeah.
And but talking to them, I'm like, man, there's no one here that's smarter than me. There's no one here that started from money. There's no one here that has like, because we're always looking for that secret that like, why is my Amazon guy have a better podcast than everyone else? Like, why? Like you're trying to find, like, does he have this SEO tactic? But the answer was no. Like there's nothing special about them. They just put in the work. And so
hustle.
Immediately I was like, okay, like I can do this. Like I believe in myself because I can work harder than these people. Like my thing is like hard work. Like I'm actually filming a video that's going to be all about hard work, like in MMA for like the brand. But it's
you are your brand. You eat, sleep, and drink it. And that's very rare, which is why I think that's part of your success, right? That is your secret sauce. You are literally hustling and living happiness to a T, right? So I applaud you for that.
Thank you, man. So pretty much, and then the next day was, okay, now it's talks and stuff like that. So, and breakout sessions. So this was my strategy. In every second that someone is not giving a presentation, I am talking to someone from like that agency, asking them questions. Yep. And I'm telling you, like I showed up, it starts at 8, I showed up at 7, and bar after hour, I left like at 9 p.m., and it was a weekday, like it was like Tuesday, Wednesday.
Right.
And so I spent like 16 hours worth of consultations, literally, how do I do this? And every single time someone would give a talk, I would go up, compliment them, say, I loved your talk. I love you this, I love that, just compliments, soften them up and be like, okay, like can I ask you about this? Can I ask you? And just take as much as I can as possible. And these people, they're employees. I mean, it's an agency. Like they don't. So here's one thing that I really love is they're such a big agency that it's like, no one cares about like tactics or keeping information, because it's like, they're an agency. Like they're not worried that if they tell you what they're doing, you're not going to come to them as a customer, because they understand like that's not how it works. Like it's not about what you know, it's about like the actual execution of it. So
not only does the what you know change on a monthly basis on Amazon, but the actual like tutorial how to take that knowledge and execute it, that's a 10x different problem. So
exactly,
yeah, I get it. That's why we share all our trade secrets openly, and why we do podcasts like this. So it totally makes sense. I'm bought into that.
Yeah, because so many people are like, man, like you give so much information out. I'm like, dude, like, do you understand like the level like of work ethic I have and discipline and hard work that it has gotten me to this point? Like, if you can take what I tell you and get here, like I will be very, very impressed, because like I wake up at 5:30 every morning. I start work at 6. You know, I train twice a day. I'm like literally like every minute of my day is planned out. I prime, I journal, like, dude, I'm like locked in.
You are the disciplinary. That's awesome.
Yeah. Like, and so I'm like, if I tell you like my PPC strategy, the next thing you know, like you're going to take one of the $100 trillion of sales worth of sales on Amazon from me, like, you know, that's like a scarcity mindset. Yeah. A scarcity mindset.
Yeah. I probably could listen for hours more about your journey, but at some point we got to talk value add. What can I do to help people grow their sales today? So let's pivot the conversation there, unless you have any other journey wrap up.
No.
Okay.
So yeah, it was very like the short is after that, you know, started implementing everything in my business, and then quit. I was gonna quit my job, got fired, which kind of
made it easy.
Made it easy. Didn't have to do the tough decision. Flew back to Egypt because I was making $4,000 a month in profit by then. So, but my bills were too high. They were like $3,500. So I flew back to Egypt, stayed there for 4 months, living like $500 a month, reinvested all of my profits into the business. I was reading The One Thing, and it kept me super focused on Amazon. And then after that, like, I think I came back to California in December, and I was doing $10,000 a month in profit. And then it took off in California, because I mean, the people here are insane. So I've been surrounded by very successful people.
Well, that's very cool. So PPC with supplements is the hardest category to do advertising in.
Mm-hmm.
What have you learned, and what can you shed light on that people should be doing with their PPC today?
Okay, so with supplements, now there's a few things you have to understand. The first thing that I want to touch on before anything is understand buyer psychology, because it's very, very crucial in supplements. Now, in supplements, in Amazon, people say you want to be top of the search, top of page one. But what you don't understand is, in supplements, it's almost like it's like you want to try the browse type of thing. So when you're constantly when you're on the broad keyword top of page, top of search, you're a lot of people are going to click, but they're not going to buy. So don't be afraid of moving down into page 2 or page 3, because the people going that low have a much higher buyer intent. So that's the first thing I want to touch on, is understand your avatar buyer psychology. Very, very important. Your customer, your audience, your target audience buyer psychology. Now, the second thing is, here's the full strategy. You know, my entire strategy. Very, very simple. There's 2 pieces of Amazon. There's how well your listing is going to convert, and then there's how many people you get to it. You can go into reports, business reports. On the left, second last option, detail page by child ASIN, you can see exactly what your conversion rate is. So out of 100 people who visit your listing, how many of them convert? That's the unit session percentage. If you have a good percent, which for me is like at least 20, you know, 15 is okay, you know, but I like to be 20 to 35. Then if you, as many people as you can get to your listing, that's what matters. And that's where PPC comes in. So the strategy is, how do I capture as many people as possible? And the way is pretty much by targeting every single keyword and ASIN possible under the sun. And to do that, I first start by launching, discovery campaigns. So my discovery campaigns are my auto, broad, and phrase. For my auto, I break them up into 4. close match, loose match, complements, and substitutes. The reason I do that is because close match and substitutes generally perform a lot better than loose match and complements.
Definitely.
So why should I put them together? Let them be on their own and let them perform on their own, and I can scale them based on how each one is performing.
You might be the first person I talk to that actually does build out those auto campaigns and separates them out. So the way that you're doing that, are you just upbidding the one target on each of those and downbidding the other three? Is that how you're doing it?
No, you can actually turn. So if you go create a campaign, auto, you scroll all the way down and you have the default bid. Under it, it says set bid by targeting group. And then you click on that option and it opens the 4 targeting groups: close match, loose match, complement, substitute.
Sure.
You can actually turn off 3 and keep 1 on.
Interesting.
And that's it.
I've never done that. And so it's one thing that's always interesting to admit as an expert is I learn something new every day. Now, this was what I just learned today. I did not know that was possible. That's incredible.
I love it. So yeah, so I have the 4 auto campaigns, and then I have my main keyword. So my main keyword is pretty much like the most broad. If you look at your competitors, it's usually the first keyword. So for me, for hydrolyte, it was electrolyte powder. It's that first highest search volume keyword that kind of applies to your product. So I have my main keyword in 3 separate campaigns: broad, phrase, and exact. And it's only one keyword in that campaign, just so I can give it a lot of like budget. And now I have my top 10 keywords, again, broad, phrase, and exact, 3 separate campaigns. Top 10 is basically after the number 1. It's like number 2 to 11, highest search volume, most relevant keyword. Now, very quickly how I do this, I look at my top 10 competitors, put them in Helium-10, Cerebro, reverse ASIN lookup. I go into advanced filters. I click on 9 minimum ranking competitors. And then basically what it does is gets me the intersection of all of those 10 competitors' keywords. Because if someone is ranking for like hydrolyte, I don't want to see that. I want to see that they're ranking for electrolyte powder. And then I sort by search volume. I get the top 10. Launch those. Now, and then I have a few other ones that I launch. Basically, I will also launch branded terms. So anything that has my 3 campaigns, broad, phrase, and exact, anything that has hydrolyte, MMA, whatever. So if anyone ever types my name and searches for it, it's right up there. And then I have targeting my own ASINs, and then I'll have a category refinement campaign. And basically, I take my category, I click refine. It's a category targeting campaign. Click refine, 3 stars or less and more expensive than me, because it's usually low hanging fruit. And now that I'm targeting all of these keywords, or like all of these different campaigns are like looking for keywords, I'll wait a week. I'll jump into the search term report, and every single thing that every keyword or ASIN that the broad and phrase and the auto campaigns have discovered, I'll pull that all out. As long as I'm not already bidding on them, I'll create new campaigns. I set my campaigns up to like 10 keywords only, because if I have any more than 10, I'll notice that Amazon's only giving budget to the top 10 performing ones, and then everything else is really not getting impressions.
We found that change in June of 2019. That was the month that when shotgun approaches no longer work, they made a relevancy focus algorithm change. So
and it makes total sense. Like you have 100 keywords in there. Why would Amazon give like the very small ones, like very low traffic ones, budget when you have some, big shot keywords up there?
Yeah.
So I'll keep pulling as many keywords as I can, and launch them, broad, phrase, and exact. I do not negative once I discover something. So a lot of people will negative, and I'm like, never negative something that's already performing for you, because I could have electrolyte powder as a broad keyword, and maybe I'm converting very well for sugar-free electrolyte powder under that broad keyword.
Sure.
Doesn't mean that when I extract it and I put it in exact that it's going to perform the same. So I don't do anything based on assumptions or feelings.
You're constantly testing.
It's all about data. So now that I have like gazillion campaigns going, all I do is I go into the bulk sheets, download the bulk sheets, highlight everything, sort and filter, click filter. On column B, you'll see record type. Select that and do keyword and product targeting, and that will show you every single keyword and product targeting that you are going for in all of your campaigns. And so one thing I want to touch on quickly for the people who have multiple SKUs, please make sure that you have separate portfolios for every single one. It really cleans up.
Difference.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. And then campaign nomenclature is very important, because in bulk sheets, you can't separate by SKU or by portfolio. You can't separate by anything. So what you're going to have to do is, for me, like for hydrolyte unflavored, I have HU space dash hydrolyte and serious. And then when I go into the bulk sheets, I can filter and only show that SKU campaigns. So Anyways, I'm going to show only the keywords and product targets, and then I'll just sort by the ACOS. If any, ACOS is advertising cost of sales. Basically, it's your PPC spend divided by how many sales you got for those keywords. Now, if it's higher than a certain number, like a certain percent, I'll lower the bid simply by 5 cents, nothing more. I don't do percentages, no calculations. I'll explain in a second why. And then if it's lower than that target ACOS, I leave it. If it's getting clicks and no sales, I'll lower it a bit. Now, the reason that I don't do any equations, all this stuff, is because I believe in iteration. Now, this is a very, very like engineering way of thinking about things, but iteration is simply you go into the shower, you turn the hot water on, you put your hand under it. If it's too hot, you lower it a little, and then you lower it a little, and then you lower it until it's good. And this is exactly what I'm doing. All I'm doing is
you sound like my 2-year-old who's trying to learn how to do the shower now for the first time. This is awesome.
Exactly. And so people overcomplicate this. They do an equation and target ACOS minus required ACOS divided by 6.2. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing?
Iterate.
Like you can't solve an equation on Amazon because there's human beings that are clicking. So you can't, kind of predict their behavior. All you can do is basically say, is it spending too much? Yes. Let's lower the bid a little bit. And then here's the sweet spot. You just get closer and closer. And then the sweet spot is always moving because it's human behavior that is clicking on those keywords. So you're just kind of chasing it as it goes. And so that's what I'll do. Now for target ACOS, for me, when I'm launching, it's twice my profit margin before advertising. So if, my product costs me $5, Amazon fees $5, I sell it for $20, that's $10 net profit, 50% profit margin. That will be my target. That will be my target ACOS or break even ACOS. And so when I'm launching, it's going to be 100%. That's my target. When I'm kind of like 3 months in, I'll drop it down to 75. 6 months in or 9 months in, I'll drop it down to 50%. And then now it's like a year in, I have like 200, 300 reviews. I'll drop it down to like 60% of the profit margin, just so I can kind of like start being much more profitable. But again, it's a very simple system. Discover as many keywords as possible, launch them in as many campaigns as you can, and then look at everything. If it's profitable, amazing. If it's not, lower the bid. And then there's, a few things here and there like negative targeting and things like that. So for example, every 60 days, I'll download my search term report, look at anything that's over 100% ACOS or spending more than $10 in no sales in the last 60 days, and I'll just negative that because in 60 days, if it has not performed, it's more than likely not going to perform in the future. But every time I improve my listing significantly, like maybe gain 100 reviews or whatever, I'll remove the negatives and give them another chance, because anyway, since they're in the system, if they don't perform well, they'll get negatived again.
Mina, you are dynamite, my friend. When Kelly Ann over at Amazing Exits introduced you by email the other day to me and said, this guy is dynamite and he's an influencer, an expert in the space, and a 7-figure seller, you need to talk to him. She wasn't freaking kidding, my friend. Like if you were on the stock market and I could buy your brand right now, I freaking would, man. Like
one day, man.
Hook, line, and sinker. You have an amazing story. You clearly have produced, and there's a reason why I sat back the last segment and just kind of let you preach, because that was some epic value.
Yeah.
So
people can pause and take notes. It's cool. This is the full strategy.
People are going to have to replay that last segment a couple of times to just unpack it. And quite frankly, I guarantee there's going to be some interested parties to want to get in touch with you. So so you do more than just sell on Amazon then. So tell us a little bit about what else you're up to and how people can get in touch with you.
Amazing. So, the other thing that I do is I have a PPC course. Obviously, engineer, Excel sheets are my bread and butter. PPC is kind of my thing. I was very disappointed when I first started that there was no info about it out there, and a lot of scams and stuff like that. So created a course. It's called theppcuniversity.com. I have a full free course, and I have on YouTube an hour-long tutorial that you can watch. So it's 2 hours worth of free content for PPC. And then, if you need more, you can go for more. If you don't need more, just go off on your own. Mina Elias on Facebook and at Egyptian_prescription_Elias on Instagram if you want to follow me.
We're going to have every single one of those links included in the show notes, the ppcuniversity.com. I mean, just purely based on this segment, I know I'm going to go take your free course. Just there's something in there. I mean, like clearly I learned that you can segment your auto campaigns a little bit more granular than I even knew possible. So there's clearly some more things I need to learn, and you've got some knowledge to shed. Well, Mina, it was fantastic having you on the podcast today. I'm going to give you the last thought as we look into 2021. Besides hustle and systematize everything, what would be the last piece of advice you'd like to give our listeners today at My Amazon Guy?
So last piece of advice, I always give this: you will never fail if you don't quit. The only way that you'll ever fail is if you quit. So if you keep going at it and you never quit, you'll never fail. And all of these like hurdles that come up, don't consider them as failures. They're all like learning experiences. And as long as you're taking full accountability of every single thing, and everything around you, you understand that this is a reflection of like the sum of your decisions, then everything will change for you. So in 2021, like, don't even think about quitting, because if you never quit, you'll never fail. That's it.
Very enthusiastic advice there. Really appreciate
MMA advice.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got to get back in that cage, man. You got to get back in that cage. Don't give up. He punched you in the face. Don't matter. Get back in there.
That's it. 100%.
All right, cue the music there. Mina, thank you so much for coming on the My Amazon Guy podcast. And to our listeners, if you like this episode, leave a comment, ask a question. I read every single comment. Or just share the love and shed a few comments on this video. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Apple Podcasts or otherwise, leave a review. Let us know that you appreciate the content. And thank you for listening to the My Amazon Guy podcast. Go to myamazonguy.com and check out our full service management. We're a great agency to hire for your first agency, or maybe you've got an agency that's in place that you've outgrown. Check us out as well. We're a 30-person agency based out of the Atlanta, Georgia area. We share all of our trade secrets openly, so you can, by the time you're done watching or listening to this podcast, there is some level of trust that you might have before you even get on a call with us. And that's because we basically just revealed our full strategy for you on how to grow sales on Amazon, right? So when you start executing with us, we're going to be executing about the things we just talked about. And it's not necessarily a secret sauce. It just takes effort, just takes grinding. So my name is Stephen Pope. I'm the founder of My Amazon Guy. Every single person who goes to myamazonguy.com and contacts us and fills out some information, I read every single one of those personally. And I will respond to them to help give you opportunities or options to help grow your sales on Amazon or solve a problem. So feel free to hit that subscribe button if you're not quite ready to hire us. Keep watching, keep listening. We'll keep adding value wherever we can. We're always on the lookout to tell stories about other Amazon sellers. So if you got a journey you want to talk to us about, we'd be happy to do that. Just send us an email to podcast@myamazonguy.com.